So, had a conversation with Jenny, and I told her what David had said he was going to do for me. I told Jenny that I'd be, if she was okay with it, that I'd be going to, Belize, and that as soon as I got settled and started making a bit of money, that I would bring her over if she wanted to come over. And she said, yeah, that was great, that was okay. So the weekend before I went, we left on a Tuesday. So the Friday, I said to Dave, look, I'm going to go down to Dublin. I'm going to, see Jenny. I'm going to see Connor before we go. And he was like, that's fine, Cole. You do what you need to do. I'll be here when you come back. And I was like, Dave, please, don't fucking, don't shit on me. Don't fucking, don't be gone when I come back. You know what I mean? I said, it'll fucking destroy me. And he gave me a big hug, big slap on the back of the head. And he goes, don't be an asshole. He says, don't be an asshole. He says, I'll be here when you get back. He says, go and see your little boy. He says, and come back. He says, and be ready to go. He says, can I use your flat while you're away? Okay. So anyway, Dave being Dave was an absolute chick magnet. And David obviously picked up a chick in the town in one of the local bars, a place called Caye's. And David had been seeing her while he was there. I says, no problem at all. So anyway, I booked a ticket at Oma bus station and took the 3-hour drive down to Dublin. Spent the weekend with Jenny and Connor, and at Jenny's mum and dad's house, Margaret and John. And yeah, we had a great weekend. It was quite a tearful goodbye for both of us. I felt like my fucking heart had been ripped out. I felt like I was, I don't know. I felt like I was betraying them by wanting to go and make a better life and, do something I'd always wanted to do, which was to learn to scuba dive. Because when I was a kid, every Sunday I used to sit and watch Jacques Cousteau. I used to watch this guy on his boat with his dive team, traveling all around the world, scuba diving and on adventures and all this type of stuff. Little did I know that 6 months later, when I got to Belize and I settled down and I became a scuba diver, that I would be diving in the Great Blue Hole in Belize, where Jacques Cousteau was the first person to take his boat to Calypso. He dynamited 2 parts of the reef to get the boat in and out. So there was an entry and an exit point, and he went into the blue hole and basically mapped that blue hole. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what the blue hole is, the blue hole is is offshore Belize, about 60-70 miles, I believe, offshore, in an atoll. And an atoll is basically an island of reef that is shallow in the inside, light shallow water, and then it just drops down thousands of feet outside that. It's called an atoll. Basically, it's just made of coral. And the Great Blue Hole is out at a place called Lighthouse Reef, or Lighthouse Caye. And it's 1,000 feet in diameter. It's dark blue, and it's so big that it can be seen from space. And it was a collapsed cave that fell in itself. I think it's 475, 480 feet deep. And I'm not really scared of very much, to be honest. Heights and, depths and all this type of stuff. But the first time I went into the blue hole, it was quite an unnerving experience. Definitely an alien world. And I'll speak a little bit more about that as we get up to that point. So anyway, the weekend with Jenny went really well, and we had a great time. David had handed me £300 in the money that he gave me, and I had never counted it. I never counted that money until I went down to Jenny, and I says, David, look, if you don't mind, I'll give this money to Jenny and Connor if you're okay with that, you know what I mean? And he's called it your money. You do what you want with it. He says, that's fantastic. He goes, he says, that's your choice. That's your little boy. That's your missus. He says, you do that. He said, that's fantastic. So I counted out the money and I gave it to Jenny, and it was £300. And I says, will that hold you for a little bit until I get to Belize and, start working? And she's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Plus she had other money as well that I'd given her each week as well. So she was okay with that. As I say, it was a tearful, farewell. I felt like I was betraying them. I felt like I was betraying my son. But I really had the intentions of wanting to make a better life for us. And if that had meant somewhere like Belize, I was going to bring her down, and if she liked it, hopefully she would stay, and we'd live in Belize together, which wasn't to be. So travelled up on the Sunday evening on the evening bus, and I got home, and David was still in the flat, and David was with this girl called Maggie, who I knew, and they'd been seeing each other for the couple of weeks that David was home. That was just Dave. So anyway, we had a coffee. Maggie got dressed, and she fucking thinned out. She left, and David told her he'd be back in a few months, and that he'd pick up where they left off, and that wasn't going to happen. I think she knew that. They both had a good time, and that was just David anyway. So, but she left. I'd had a bit of furniture, I had some nice furniture in the house, so I had told my mum if she needed anything, get furniture to the neighbours. I gave the TV to David's dad Barney, and I had weights and benches and stuff, and I give it to my friends and stuff. So basically I give everything away. And so that was a Sunday night. The Sunday I spent with the neighbours coming, taking bits and pieces, whatever they wanted. I washed my clothes, which was basically 2 pairs of jeans, I think 2 shirts, a few t-shirts. David bought me some shorts, some t-shirts and some sandals, and he bought me my first Casio dive watch, which I think back then was about £30, which was a lot for me, for a watch and stuff. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't really tell anybody I was going. I didn't really mention anything to my lot. I certainly didn't want to say goodbye to my mum, because that would have broke my heart. My brothers and sisters, I didn't really say. I don't remember saying anything to anybody. I phoned Jenny one last time before heading off on the Tuesday, and that was quite heartbreaking. So everything was packed. I stayed up in David's house on the Monday night. I didn't really sleep. We just sat downstairs. We sat downstairs with his dad, having a few beers. I didn't drink at the time, and he ran us to the airport. So I think it was about 9 o'clock in the morning. We were going up there to catch the 12 o'clock flight. So Barney, he drove us up, and it's a bit of crack on the way up. We were cracking up at each other. And Barney was telling me, he told me the same thing as Sally did. He says, look, Col, he says, get over here. He says, do what David tells you to do. He says, stick close by. He says, you've been very close. He says, since you were small, you know what I mean? David, as I say, he was 8 years older than me. He was like a dad, more than a big brother. And he says, don't fucking come back. Don't come back, he says, to this place. He says, if you can help it, there's nothing here for you. He said, and a few hours later, I'm on my first flight. I'd never been on a plane before, so we got to Belfast International, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was on my first flight. British Airways over to Heathrow Airport, and David's just sitting smiling at me like a Cheshire cat, big grin on his face and stuff, a big wink and a big slap in the head. And the time came for us to go through security. I'd had my first passport. I'd got that a few months before. I don't know why, for some reason I just bought a passport, and that was the first time I'd used it, and got through security, and went to waiting. We just went up and got a table. David went up and checked where the flights. I didn't even know none of this stuff, so he took me up and he's telling me what to do and what to look for. And he says, if you're ever traveling on your own, Col, this is what you need to be able to do. Again, that was another life lesson for me. And he taught me loads of stuff.